Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. And it's one that not a lot of us really kind of wanted to see, but we were kind of expecting at the very beginning of this series. I just need to mute this. It is muted. Okay. It's because I have another window open. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't an echo for you guys. I, of course, am Marc Williams, your host, and I'm here in Tampa for it's a delayed version, but it's one of Marc's drunk recaps. And uh, it would have been done last night, but I was in no condition to to be able to articulate exactly what happened wrong in this game. But we're gonna get down to it. And the headline, of course, is the Lightning tie the series. It was a very boring game. Seriously, look at the highlights. There was 66 shots in this game, and basically in the highlights you saw 10. There's not really much to discuss. It was exactly what the Lightning wanted. They controlled the game beginning to end, and it's something that the chess match has really been going between these two coaches. And there was a great meme that was on Mile High Sports about this, which was, got it right here. It really was. It's just Avalanche and the Oilers. They're just firing away. Well, they were. I mean, now the Avalanche have finished that series. And I was at the game last night and flew down here to Tampa. It was my birthday yesterday. It's thanks for everybody that has said it so far. There was my seat to the game, but it really was an uneventful game. But let's get down to the nitty gritty on this. This isn't going to be a very long bitch session, and there really isn't much to complain about because, like I said, it was uneventful. No one picked up Pat Maroon in front for the first goal of the game. Great move by Zach Bogosian, who kind of looked like he, as Ray Ferraro said it on the broadcast, kind of looked like the moves that he pulled out when he was younger. But good move. He got around Braun and then put the puck on net. Nobody picked up Maroon. He gets the loose change, and that's how he scored many of those goals throughout his career. Now, on the regroup in the second period, that was when Palat made a great pass up the middle for Kucherov. Goal. And he failed in game 3-on-1, but he's not going to fail on many of those. So, and then in the third period, Kucherov and Stamkos were wide open on the Stamkos third goal. So, look, the Rangers, we'll get back to the Rangers in 1 second. Actually, the Lightning went from being on the brink of elimination to tied in the series within 4.5 periods. And that's what the Lightning do. Somebody was asking me about how confident would I be in this series on the Rangers because they were up 2-0. And my answer was simply put, I'm not going to be confident on this series and count the Lightning out until there is a 10-goal lead and 1 second remaining in the clinching game. Because that's how good the Lightning are. They got the experience, they got the know-how, and they know what they're doing. So now it's best of 3, going back to the Garden for Game 5. I have the poll up here so far. How do you guys think this series is going to end? So far, 67% is saying that the Rangers in 7, and nobody's saying the Lightning in 7 yet. So we're going to see about that one. But the Rangers had 35 shots. 0 highlights. That's unacceptable. Reinstrom being out does kind of hurt their lineup. It makes them have to shuffle things around. Hopefully, Strome can get back in. There were reports he was going to play last night, and then he didn't. So that just kind of sums that up. I'm trying to put in the words what I really think, but it's you're going to need people to step up when guys are out of the lineup. And if he's out for a prolonged period of time, Rangers, Artemi Panarin, you got to step up. I know you had a goal last night, the one that made it 3-1, kind of a nothing goal that it bounced off of the front of skate, went over to Darren. He puts it in the net. I was gonna say puts on the loose change, but I already used that reference. But so Gallant says this. It looks like a homer series. That's what we're hoping on. They're good at home. We're good at home. That's what it says. And I think that could be the case. Go back to the Garden, just pick up Game 5, and then try to come back here and hold serve. Well, not only hold serve, try to win on the road. But Panarin is right about this. We need to figure something out because I don't even think it was the effort. I think it was just there was nothing there. And you know what? I keep saying this a lot. Other guys get paid too. So, Ranger fans, there's still plenty of reason for you to be excited. You got home ice advantage. But again, it's a daunting task to beat this Tampa Bay Lightning team. This is the first conference final where they've had to go on the road in this little mini dynasty that they've had. So I'm going to get down to your comments because, like I said, it wasn't going to be very long. It's a 6-minute breakdown. There was not much to talk about. As a matter of fact, I didn't even get to put in the joke about all the Ranger highlights. Hold on, I got them. Okay, there we go. So let's get down to some of your comments. By the way, David, well, thank you. Yeah, a nice early episode of the show. I'm still in the hotel room, and I'm going to be here for about another 2 hours, but it's only going to be a 90-minute show at the most. And I'm meeting a friend of mine for lunch, and then getting on a plane, getting back to New York by about 7 o'clock shortly. And it's hopefully go out, have a couple drinks with friends tonight. That is actually right, DP. Well, the Rangers proved that they could hold a lead in games 2 and game 1, but you know, it's this is where experience matters, because, and if you go back to what I said for the key to the Rangers to win the series, don't get too high, don't get too low. You gotta stay in that mental aspect, and that's what Tampa Bay did in game 3. Tampa Bay was on the ropes. They're down 2-0. They get the big goal from Kucherov to make it 2-1, and then of course Stamkos, that one-timer. Unbelievable. All right. Have to find a way to get past the neutral zone. Only Kreider was winning in the corner dumps. That's right. He beat Braun, who chickened out. Yeah. You can't be doing that. You can't be backing up on anybody, regardless who they are, especially Zach Bogosian. All right. Panarin's long cross-eyed passes sucked last night. That's right. He was again. If you're gonna stick at the perimeter, it's not really gonna work. Any time. That's what teams want. I mean, the Rangers have done it to teams. They did it to Carolina. Brett is staying to the outside. Lou, you're right about that one. Jury really has to examine this team. Panarin is not a playoff performer. I know you've been hammering him the entire time, Everest, but I think he's got a no move clause complete for the duration of the contract. Brett has been a giveaway machine, and you're right about that. No heart. That goes back to what you're saying about Panarin. Really boring game, Brett. B-Rye is it's just ow. That was a tough one to watch. I know, Wicked. I'm not a Ranger fan, but a friend of mine is a Ranger fan. He was telling me that Panarin was coasting in the day zone, which apparently led directly to the Rangers getting trapped. I mean, yeah. And Panarin actually has a pretty good reputation of being a good defensive forward, but it's something. It's sometimes he just does do that coasting in the defensive zone, and when you do that, Nothing's gonna happen. Hey, Alex. Doing good. Doing good. I had a great time here in Tampa. There were lots of people that I was just sitting down talking pucks with yesterday. Kevin and Kevin that were over at the pub that's over here, and Mike. If you guys, let me get the name of Mike's podcast. He does a soccer podcast. It's it is the sorry, I got it. Squeaky Bum Time podcast. I'll put that in the if you guys are into soccer at all. He does a soccer podcast. He was the guy that sold me a ticket last night. It was a great time. We had a great time over at Hattrick's, great bar, hockey themed in Tampa. And you know what? All the fans in Tampa, you guys, all the fans were very nice, good to talk with. I still found it funny that I sat next to somebody and he looked at me and said, "Oh, it's my birthday today." I'm like, "Oh, mine too. How about that?" But yes, the Rangers did look flat and a little bit disinterested. And you know what it's reminiscent of for the older Ranger fans? Sort of both series against the Devils in the Eastern Conference Finals, game 4 in 2012 and game 4 in 1994, where Mike Keenan rested Leach and Messier for long periods and pulled Mike Richter. And it was a 4-2 game. It wasn't like a blowout or anything. So, yeah, it reminded me last season how in the game that Tampa blew out the Islanders. Yeah, but this one wasn't a blowout. But you know what? That's what Tampa wants. Tampa would rather have this game than the game 5 against the Islanders. Did the Lightning figure the Rangers out? I don't want to say yes yet. We'll see about that at the Garden. But when you have a coach like John Cooper, who is one of the best in the league, and by the way, has he won a Jack Adams yet? The guy is deserving of a Jack Adams. Is there more of an underrated coach than John Cooper? He never gets too high, and he never lets them ever. It's always on an even plane. If they lose a game, he just kind of goes about his business. So, Joe, Rangers in 6 or 7. What do you think? I made the prediction beginning of the series, the Rangers in 7. Phil made the prediction, I believe it was Lightning in 7. So it was going the distance either way. Let's see what you guys are saying right now. 53% say Rangers in 7 so far. And now we're getting more votes for the Lightning in 7 and the Lightning in 6. But only 18 of you think the Rangers are going to win the next 2 games. 18%, I should say. The Tampa fans were great. They were very approachable, very easy to talk to. And for the most part, all throughout the series, I forgot to miss the game, you could have a conversation and you got them to actually talk hockey too. I mean, you always hear about fake fans. The ones I was talking to, no, they're not fake. And one of the I got to cut together the video for Marc on the road for this. But one of the fans I was talking to, great guy, him and his girlfriend. And then I always like to ask the question, who's your favorite player? He said Andre Waugh. Like, wow, that's really pulling out a Lightning from past. Lightning were rusty as hell. They took 9 days off and took on playoff full of Rangers. Now it looks like the Rangers are woken up a beast. Should be interesting. Warren, you're right about that one. I'm going to go off and also say that I think it's right now just getting the matchups that you want in your building. And in the meantime, Colorado is going to be taking off plenty more sex bots. I mean, there's going to be plenty matchups that have to come back on this. And, you know, I understand the rust in game 1. Game 2, that was the Rangers just taking it to them. So the thing is, yeah, I'm going to get to that one in a second, James. But I think it's unfair to just say, oh, it's the Lightning were resting and everything. Now the Rangers won two games against a very good team. And Steven, by the way, hey Steven, and I'm going to say more about that in a second. Lucky that I missed the commentary. I'm always lucky I missed the commentary. And hey, you know what? In the pregame, Emily Kaplan was actually lit right and shot right. But I mean, again, ESPN, give the girl a break. Tampa at the Garden doesn't scare me. We have 2 home games, best of 3. You're right about that, Steven. By the way, this is Statboy Steven, co-host of Rangers Review. And I believe actually the channel is Rangers Review now. So check it out, guys, if you haven't seen it. The Rangers were never participants in yesterday's game. Unfortunately, when you have a chance to really put a team on the ropes in the Stanley Cup final, that is something you should be just focused on and driven to do. See about what the Rangers can pull out right now. Because I know a friend of mine talked to some of the players. They are all focused. That's what they're just thinking about. They're thinking about how to win this series. Sorry that I'm taking so many breaks. I'm sounding like Mike Francesa right now. John Cooper, like Gerard Gallant, relies heavily on home ice advantage and the opportunity to pick his matchups by being allowed to put his lines out last. Yeah, and if you're a coach that doesn't, then you're not taking full advantage of anything. I often wonder still, why don't teams just do what the Devils did and do a quick line change? But that's been out of practice for about the last 20 years. Thankfully, I'm back at work. I missed last night's game. I still fancy us to win in 7 if we get oh yeah. I didn't know who the Phil was, but Stromer, yeah. Again, social, as an Islander fan, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel that I have to abstain from any non-Islander polls. No, actually, you know what? That's where if you don't have a horse in the game, then you don't have to worry about emotion getting in the way. So don't worry about that. Everest, Rangers get themselves locked into these bum contracts, and it's going to drive me nuts for years. Yeah. Keep skipping a little. Way ahead too much. Very similar to Game 5 performance of the last round. James, you're 100% right on that one. And again, it's sometimes just what the other team will not let you do. And there was nothing. There really was nothing. Were there any shots from the inside, from the house? No. So, B-Rye, back to you. Tampa completely changed their game, clogged up the neutral zone. They played more like Carolina last night. Yeah. John, why do you think this – hey, Marc, why do you think this team plays drastically different, specifically effort-wise, when they play at home versus away? Well, the answer on that is because the Rangers feed off the crowd in MSG, and you saw that in the last series. The Rangers were incredibly just much better at Madison Square Garden. It's not just the matchups. The home crowd does do a lot, and getting that goal early for Tampa last night really kind of took them out of their game, and it put the crowd in there. I know, because everybody stood up around me to celebrate, and I was the one sitting down. Why is it that the Rangers always have this lull in the third where they rely on Igor? No offense, no chances taken. I knew that we didn't have our stuff last night, and it was obviously over after the second goal. Tommy, yeah, 100%. And 100% right on this one. And I knew it. I knew it too. I think it's also because they start pressing. Tampa Bay started pressing. I think they had 17 shots in the third period last night. And, you know, it's them getting their game and the Rangers losing theirs. So, also, why do you think the refs call soft calls on the Rangers but refuse to call high sticking and cross checks on Tampa? Sometimes refs see things. That's just what they say, and they don't necessarily have like a directive or anything not to make calls. I don't know why. I don't know. They missed the call on Hedel in Game 3. I know that. But look, Game 3 was there for the Rangers. They had a double minor high stick with 9 minutes remaining and couldn't score. So, and Steven also was saying the same thing. Steven, which one did you say? Rangers in 7? Yeah, he did say Rangers in 7. Okay. I'll get to that one second. As Steven says, every fan base thinks the refs are against them. The refs aren't a problem. Calls go both ways. And in the long run, it all evens out. For the most part, it is. Oh, here come the sex bots again. All right. Back to this. Steven did say Rangers in 7. John D. Lee, it's always great to see you. Why not Rangers in 6? Well, you know what? If it's going to be a home series, it's going to go back and forth. If it's going to be Rangers in 6, Joe, I'll tell you this: it's probably going to be an overtime winner. That would be it. What's the point of Reeves on the ice when the team is dead? Let him go out there and kick someone's ass and change momentum. Yeah, necessarily fights usually don't happen in the playoffs. They're more organic. And also, I think in that case, you would just throw Pat Maroon out there and hope you would hope that if you're Tampa Bay, why would you get into a fight? You're in control of the game. Just don't. So, Alex, back to you. Mark, if Vasilevsky is back to normal, that is bad news for the Rangers. Vasilevsky was already bad news for the Rangers. But still, again, Igor Shesterkin is right at his level. So the question is he at his playoff level? Rangers are down 2 centers. Oops. Oh, boy. I didn't know about this one. Maybe I should have looked at it. No wonder why I saw Phil. I thought you misspelled Philk. Does Hedel have a concussion? Oh, boy. I'm going to have to look that up. All right. Steven, if you know whether or not it's been reported, throw it in the comments, please. And Alex, I don't know where the sex bots come from. I guess that means I made it. I would agree with you, but blatantly saw calls on the Rangers and MSG, and they refused to call cross checks. I don't know why Revo got called yesterday. It's BS. Again, sometimes it happens. The first period of Game 2, there was a lot of ticky-tack calls, a lot of them, and that doesn't really work on any side. Sometimes refs will do that to try to get control of the game early and then loosen up as it goes on. Because the other way around, going loose and then tightening it up, you're saying you don't know what it's sort of like a strike zone. For anybody that plays baseball, you always want to know what a call is and when you're going to get this call or that call, and it's where the batters. You got to know what it's just as much of a rapport, and when the refs don't have control, that's not a good thing. I blame Marc Messier. He praised Maroon pregame, and everything went right for Maroon in Tampa from there. Well, it's hard not to praise Pat Maroon, considering that he's won the last 3 Stanley Cups. The last 2 with Tampa and St. Louis, and even had an overtime winner with the St. Louis Blues to put them in the conference finals. That was when the Rangers could have got another first-round draft pick, but they didn't. Manzone says, I believe Hedel is a shoulder. Okay. See, that's the stuff that I missed by being at the game, because I would have already been on that. Yeah, I don't know where these bots come from, but do you think Gallant should have called up Rooney or someone else? Rooney, just my opinion, really doesn't contribute. I'm starting to actually become a little bit disenchanted with Rooney on this team, but I don't know. We're going to keep asking the question. What's the status on Sammy Blake? Because if now there's a spot for him, you might have to throw him in. Okay. Yeah, Hedman took out Hedel. I didn't like what I saw last night. Whoever wins Friday night's game will win the series. If Tampa wins the next game, they're going to have all the momentum, 2-time Stanley Cup champs, and they know how to get it done. Is it Friday night? I thought it was Thursday night. Because I'm working that day. I'm working all these days. That's the reason why. Yeah, it's Thursday night. Thursday night and then Saturday night, the next two games. And hopefully they're both Ranger wins, but this is where experience comes into play. Yes. Yeah, this is where experience does help out a lot because you don't panic. If you've been in this situation before and you don't panic, that's fine. And then again, the mental aspect is why the Rangers have to keep their composure right now. Tommy, just to throw it back to Hicksville, like Marty Hughes and Timmy Kirkostas, who were always great players. They didn't panic. I think we had a 3-goal comeback against Massapequa in '95 when we won our first of two Town of Oyster Bay championships. I know I'm plugging high school hockey from 30 years ago, guys. Sorry. Alex, unfortunately, first off, I'm going to read this out loud. You see, Mark, you're a cool Ranger fan, but I met some Ranger fans that were I don't want to curse out or disrespect on your show. But you know what? Unfortunately, every fan base has got that. Every fan base has got toxic fans. It's just a matter of we got to have less of them. Say hello to Brady and Gronk for me. Yep. Yesterday's presser that mentioned that Blaze was no longer wearing a red jersey, which means he's healthy. That is big news, John. Good? Yeah, Thursday night. Okay, Tommy, yeah, you got the days wrong. Alex, but as an Islander fan, Mark, I can't see myself cheering for the Rangers, but they're a good team with a good coach. Yeah, well, I mean, same thing for the Islanders for the last 4 years. I couldn't cheer for them. I love when people always kept on saying, hey, you got to root for the Islanders for business. Okay. No. All right. Mark, what's your feelings on Panarin? If you can get rid of him, would you? There's so many aspects to this question because the first thing would be the contract. And I'm already seeing this voice right here. Mr. Anthony LaRocco is coming on in, joining me. As soon as I see where his camera is, there he is.
What's going on? Good. Every now and then I like to drop in and surprise Mark when I can. So I saw you on, so I had the opportunity for a little bit.
Yeah. So did you get to watch last night's game?
A little bit of it. The Lightning the Lightning really took it to the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers they did not have a an energetic type of game. I thought they were really flat pretty much for the whole game.
Yeah, they were flat the entire time, and basically, the first goal kind of deflated them. So,
yeah. And you know what? I was talking to some of my friends that I play hockey with that are all Ranger fans. So minority, but you're saying that the end of game 2, where the Lightning really made that push and almost tied the game, they're like, they like something like a switch flip there, and the Lightning realized, okay, well, we're in trouble here, and they really turned it on. And since then, they've been a different team. Since that moment and the last couple of minutes of game 2, the Lightning have been a different hockey team. So
now it's very possible, simply put, go back to Madison Square Garden. Rangers win that game with the matchups, and Braden Point might be back in 6 and 7, as Rick is mentioning right here. By the way, Everest, just to finish the question on Panarin, it's also the $11.5 million. That's what you have to think about sometimes with that. That's why it's not just what are you talking about? You're crazy. No. I mean, if the Rangers can move his contract, I think that would still be something that they would think about. But they very easily could just go back to the Garden, get their matchups, and then go back. But you can't have another game like last night. And you can't.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is stating the obvious, but the Rangers need to win the next game, because as we all know, Andre Vasilevsky in closeout games it's unheard of. It's like a video game. He's a brick wall. 8 of the last 9 attempts he's had to close out the other team has been a shutout. The last 8 of 9.
Yeah.
That
Only the
that's
Toronto
that
Maple
is
Leafs scored on him.
that's absolutely unheard of. His save percentage is almost 1,000 in those games. 100. His goals against is 0.3 something or whatever it is, something along those lines. So he is ungodly when he has a chance to close out a team. So, and especially being that Game 6 would be in Tampa, if the Rangers lose next game, I know they flipped the script with the whole Lightning haven't lost consecutive games. I know they changed that narrative. So anything is possible, but man, that would be a daunting task to go up against Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay when he can close you out. So the Rangers really, really need to win the next game. I really feel
agreed. This really has to go the Rangers' way in the next game. By the way, I just want to say thanks to John Kim.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. But it's definitely something that if it doesn't, I think it's over in 6. That's why I'm not even thinking as I think it's more Rangers in 7 or Lightning in 6 because Vasilevsky it's unheard of. He's lost closeout games before, but when he's done it, 8 of the last 9, as you said, only the Toronto Maple Leafs scored on him. Because, I mean, after all, Dallas extended the series. I believe it was Corey Perry, of all people, to score the OT winner in that game. And obviously Montreal had the chance to get closed out, and they forced it to go to Game 5. But then, of course, I mean, just Vasilevsky, when he locks the door, he just shuts it and slams it shut.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at last year. Beauvillier sent the Islanders to Game 7 in overtime. And then what happened in that Game 7? Goose egg. Vasilevsky shut them out. So
speaking of, by the way, speaking about which in that game, Anthony, I turned to a friend of mine as soon as the Islanders got 1 goal. I think it was Josh Bailey in Game 6. Who was the first one? Because I know Mayfield tied it.
Yes,
somebody had that backhander from the slot.
Eberle,
there we go. Yeah. So as soon as Eberle scored, I went, "There's your hope," because now Vasilevsky can't shut him out. So chances are he might lose the game, and the Islanders came back to win that game, of course.
Yeah.
Whew. But yeah, this is a daunting task. But if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. I'm gonna keep recycling these lines all the time because they're true.
No, yeah. And listen, they're the back-to-back champs for a reason. They really raise the temperature of their game when things are really, really on the line, and they know how to win. I mean, I can't really say that John Cooper does a great job with that group, and they, like I said, they're battle tested and they know what it takes. When you have to reach deep down in these situations, they've been there before. They know how to do it. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think when the Rangers went up 2-0, I was skeptical that the Lightning would get back into the series. I thought maybe they'd take one at home when they'd split and the Rangers would be up 3-1. But yeah, they just and I guess that was silly of me to doubt them, being how much winning they've done over the last 2 years. But now here we are in a tie series, and look, the script has flipped from what the Rangers did to the Hurricanes last round. Now the Lightning did it to them. Came back and tied the series at 2, and now it's a best of 3. So, whatever happens from here on out, as a Ranger fan, I think either way, you just have to be happy with your team's accomplished this year.
I agree with that to an extent. And Alex, I'm going to bring up the Miami Dolphins for us for a second, which is, I know the general consensus with a lot of Ranger fans right now is, I'm going to put on my fan hat for a second. Oh, well, it's house money. It's okay. We didn't expect we were going to be this far. But the truth is, you don't know when you're getting back again.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're right.
You got to try to take it. You got to try to get it while it's there.
You
And
saw it with the
I know it's
Islanders.
appreciated, but it's still there right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you do never know when you're gonna get back to that point again. I mean, look at the. I mean, you could. I mean, you could come up with tons of examples, but look at New Jersey in 2012 when they lost to the Kings. They haven't sniffed it since then. So you never really know.
And if anything, they've gone
when you're going
backwards.
to get
Further,
what?
They've gone
Yeah,
backwards.
yeah. But I mean, they also got screwed. I mean, Kovalchuk unexpectedly picked up his ball and left and retired on them, and then Parise left in free agency that offseason. So they lost their 2-star players in one offseason. That's hard to come back from. But no, so yeah, you do never know when you're going to get back again. And you know, the Rangers, if you look at their group, they're going to be a different team next season. You know, one of Strome or Kopp will be gone. I mean, chance of possibly both. You never know, but
Yeah.
And then you have other decisions you have to make. So you know, they're going to look different. So you don't know where you're going to be. And one thing I've learned, Mark, especially this season, is that anything can happen in the NHL. I mean, you know, we had Dan Rosen on our show in the offseason. You remember what he said about the Islanders? He said this team does not have one single hole that I could think of. And you know, you went through the media's predictions in the offseason, and you know, everyone had them in the playoffs. A lot of people had them in the conference finals. A decent amount had them in the Stanley Cup finals. And you missed the playoffs. So it just goes to show you never know, you know, what's going to happen. So you got to make the most of the opportunity.
Exactly, and that's why it's still 2 games at home for the Rangers. Every fan, come back from the ledge for a second. It's all right, because again, the Rangers could just find their game at home and start, and then, because remember, we had that same feeling when Carolina was coming to the Garden up 2-0, and I was not optimistic. I thought they were good. The Rangers might split and then they'd be going home. Instead, here I am in Tampa after I just watched the Eastern Conference Finals game here. So that's where it's, and I gotta almost agree with B-Rye right here. I don't think Vasilevsky's done really anything all that special in this series. Like, Igor's had to be the better goalie, but the problem is Vasilevsky, once he does something special, usually it's in a closeout game. Well, by the way, sorry, Anthony, I'm going to ask you this question. Vazzy isn't the reason we don't drive to the net, impose our will, or be aggressive in all zones. Do you think the calls in Game 3 might have affected the players driving to the net?
I mean, maybe a little bit, because you have in the back of your head, you know, if I drive to the net and I make contact, you know, when I'm going to get called, and you never want to take a penalty, you know, in situations like this when the stakes are this high in the conference finals. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I think the Rangers stick to their game plan and don't really differentiate from it too much. So I don't know if that really played a huge role.
Okay, because I know that there was 3 goalie interference calls in Game 3. So, and 2 were on Tampa. 1 was on the Rangers with Frank Petrano getting that one.
Yeah.
So, wonder if that would go in there. I do have to say, sometimes we'll get disenchanted with our superstars, and I like what Wicked's saying right there about I'd gladly take Panarin. We need dynamic offensive players. Do you think Panarin is just not a playoff player, or his game has trouble translating in the playoffs?
I don't know. I think Artem Panarin, we all know how gifted he is offensively, but he's not the type of guy that's going to come to play every single night, and you know, really never let his foot off the gas. You know, he could have those lazy tendencies in his game that you guys have seen, you know, over the course of the year. And you know, he doesn't really always battle hard. You know, like for instance, a guy like I mean, a guy like I'll compare it like Leon Draisaitl. I mean, Leon Draisaitl, the guy played on one leg in the conference finals, and even throughout this whole playoffs, and had an ungodly performance. I mean, that's a warrior, that's a battler. He comes to play every night. He could play an aggressive game. Star player. Artemi Panarin's a star player, but he doesn't have the same motor or drive as a guy like Leon. And again, has those lazy tendencies in his game that come up a little bit too often. Phenomenal player, and every team in the league would take him. But he's not a prototypical playoff player.
I also wonder about injuries. One thing I always bring up with it was the 2009 playoffs, where Chris Drury was revealed to have a broken hand when the Rangers were eliminated. And he had 2 goals. One of them was a game winner in that series versus the Capitals. And yet on the other hand, Nick Sherdav, perfectly healthy, missed like 6 open nets. Nick Sherdav. If Hedl is out, would it be crazy to put Mott at center, Rooney Reeves, Goudreau, if Strome can go? It wouldn't be crazy. That's why Tyler Mott does play center.
Yeah. This is you got to do that. You got to do that every day and twice on Sundays if you're a Ranger fan.
Jeez.
Leon, he's for my money, I think he's the second best player in the world. I mean, I know Nathan McKinnon, Matthews, Cale Makar, but I really like Leon. He's a phenomenal player.
Oh yeah. Leon is I don't have words to describe Leon Draisaitl, because I don't know if words can be enough of a compliment for him. That guy is one hell of a player. And if Edmonton ends up, I don't know what they're going to do in Edmonton. I think actually now they might stay the course.
They are.
I actually wanted all the chaos in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marc, I'll let you chime in. My opinion. I think I think Colorado would beat any of these teams, the Lightning or the Rangers. The only thing that maybe you could say about Colorado is that Kemper, Francouz, maybe their goaltending isn't as strong as Vasilevsky, Shesterkin. But Colorado is an absolute wagon. I mean, they got, and what makes them so dangerous is that their offense from the back end. Makar, Taves, Bowen Byram, even Eric Johnson, who's older. They all fast. They all can get up the ice, and they all can provide offense. And when you have that from your back end, it makes your team so much more dangerous. And that's not even considering, McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog and Kadri if he comes back, Burakovsky. They just got so much offensive firepower. It's cruel.
I wrote an article on this yesterday because I had some free time, so why the hell not? And it was comparing Colorado to the movie Gladiator, where Russell Crowe turns to the crowd and says, "Are you not entertained?" after he just slays 3 guys. That's sort of like how Colorado has run these playoffs. They've run roughshod over every single team. Now, here's the thing about them, and I'm saying this is the critics, if you want to say this. They faced a UC Soros Nashville. They faced St. Louis, who won 2 games, and lost Jordan Binnington, who just regained that Stanley Cup form. And then they faced the Edmonton Oilers, who really, let's be honest, the Edmonton Oilers overachieved. They overachieved this year. Now, am I taking that away from Colorado? No. I asked the question, though, is Colorado ready for either the Lightning or the Rangers? Because you're going to have a better goalie, a Norris Trophy winning defenseman, all right. I was about to say a better top-line center, and then I stopped myself and went, that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, don't be stupid. But they're definitely deeper teams. St. Louis has been the team that Colorado really it gave them a little bit of trouble, but I actually do think whoever wins this series wins the cup. That's what I do think. Now, it's not going to be easy. Colorado is one hell of a team. Nate McKinnon is on another planet right now. And I think it just comes down to their goaltending. And it was what I had the doubts with all along. They've silenced me. They've shut me up. I'm happy with that. My friend Danny, huge Avalanche fan. I wished him all the best. And I'm hoping that we're going to be watching games together for the Stanley Cup Finals. But the Avs sitting there waiting themselves, it might be a bad thing for them. So I don't know if they're prepared, but we're gonna find that out. And then what happens? But Anthony, what happens if everything I just outlined? What happens if Colorado sweeps the Stanley Cup Finals? I mean, then I have to say, it doesn't matter who they put in front of them; they were going to beat anybody.
Yeah, no, and I do think they are going to beat anybody, regardless if it's Tampa Bay or the Rangers. I think it's their year again. Their defense gets up the ice so much better than the Tampa or the Rangers, for that matter, when it comes to their defense. And they're just too good offensively. I think they play at so much pace and speed that I don't know if the Lightning or the Rangers can handle that. So, but we'll see. Two questions I saw I wanted to get to. First, I'll do this one
because my comments are all screwed up right now.
I think Schneider looks promising. But in the playoffs, when the stakes are so high, I get why Gallant would be a little more hesitant to give him the shifts, because in high pressure situations for a young guy, it's a lot harder than just playing an average regular season game. So I know, when you consider everything, he's better than guys like Braun and Nemeth, etc. But in these situations, unfortunately, experience still wins out. So I think Gallant's going to kind of keep him where he's at right now.
I would say that too. I think he's got more faith in putting the veteran out there, Jacob Trouba. Trouba, I know he's had a couple penalties in Game 3. I know one of the guys, Tommy, was just talking about this before. But the coach is always going to go with the veterans, especially in the playoffs. That's just how it is. What's the next question? I'm
trying to find it. It was from some THG. Yes. This is the second time he asked. I wanted us to talk about this. I think most people know my feelings on this. Ilya was second in the league in save percentage, fourth in GAA, I believe, and second in shutouts. My money, he was the second best goaltender in the NHL behind Igor Shesterkin this year. And it's cool to see they're best friends. I think we're going to see it for a long time. And I think next year I think he's going to be even better next year than he was this year. There are Vezina trophies in the future for him. And I'm looking forward to see the Igor Ilya battle for many years to come.
I'm going to agree with you without even looking, top 10 goalie in the league. Now I got to start weeding out some guys. I wouldn't put him ahead of Shesterkin. I wouldn't put him ahead of Vasilevsky yet. Regular season wise, he was phenomenal. Is he better than Jussi Saros? That's a great question. I'm inclined to say yes. I think I agree with you. There's going to be the net is settled for the Islanders for years. So don't worry about that. And he also brought this in. Guys, remember when the Oilers have Smith in net when they could have drafted
just for Wallstedt? Yeah. Yeah. It's a little it makes you scratch your head there. I mean, Ken Holland and what he does, but I mean,
the weird thing is, it's like Ken Holland built the Detroit dynasty, the Detroit Red Wings. How is he making decisions this bad? By the way, Rich, you're right about this. Too many guys still hacking away at Igor. Moose DuPont? Oh, no. Would cross. Oh, okay. No. I read that wrong for a second. But cross-check guys so hard in the head and in the back of their head, he would break his stick. Mindset, touch Igor, you'll get pounded. I agree with you. That should be the mindset. So,
yeah, I mean, also quickly about Mike Smith. You moved on before I could.
I'm sorry, Anthony.
No, it's okay. In a 4-2 game, they're up 4-2. Why is he going? I know he can. He is one of the better puck handler goalies in the league, but he also makes a lot of mistakes. But 4-2 game, he's all the way out of his net. He plays a puck, and it hits the ref. And I know that's not his fault. It's not the ref. The ref got in the way, but then the puck literally ends up in the back of the net. I mean, why make that play in that situation? I'm just saying. Maybe the Oilers and Avs are playing a game 5 tonight if that doesn't happen. But Mike Smith just had to make better decisions, and he didn't.
There are certain stereotypes that are all over sports. This is my experience, and this is my feeling of the stereotype. The stick handling goalie is one of the most arrogant guys on the ice at all times because they think they can do anything. How many mistakes has Martin Brodeur made? I mean, yeah, he's made a lot, but just look at 2010 in Vancouver when he was in the Olympics. Brian Rafalski had 2 goals because he gave the puck away. Whenever I would play a game against the stick handling goalie, I salivated because I knew I was getting at least 1 puck on a turnover with an empty net. Go ahead.
Look at Rick DiPietro. I mean, Rick DiPietro probably could have dangled just your average 4th liner when he was handling the puck. That's how good he was at actually handling it. But goalies like that, they do make mistakes, and he made a lot of mistakes. It's just something that happens.
Igor is not immune to it either. He gave up the game-tying goal in Game 5 after of the Penguin series after the Rangers clawed back to take the lead.
Yeah,
like it happens. I mean, Igor is not as bad as a lot of other goalies like that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But you're right about that, Ant. It's just there's no need to always be doing that. How about this? Stay in the net and stop the puck. That's what your job is.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Alex has got a question right here. Mark, Mark Anthony, what do you think the Islanders end up with Forsberg or Gaudreau? I don't know how to spell his name. Go ahead to make your prediction.
Oh, this is tough. All right. So I'm of the belief that Big Lou, our friend Big Lou, that Mark should call, by the way. Don't forget about that, guys. I think he absolutely needs to come away with one of the following of Forsberg, Gaudreau, Fiala. I don't know where Mark went, or yeah. I mean, one of those 3. He needs to get Fiala, Forsberg, or Gaudreau. He needs to come away with one of those 3. And it's looking like from people I talked to that Philip Forsberg is probably going to re-sign with Nashville. It seems that way. He likes Nashville and it seems like he wants to make it happen. Gaudreau, though, if you read the tea leaves, guys, Gaudreau is leaving Calgary. I know he made the statement that he likes Calgary, but I think he's out. And I think it's no secret. He's from South Jersey. I think he wants to come east. I mean, I'm not saying for a team like Colorado, I don't have the cap space for it, but you guys know the point I'm making. I'm sure if a team like Colorado offers him a contract, he'll stay west, but I think his preference is to go east. So I think the Islanders have more of a shot with Gaudreau just because of that reason. I think Forsberg's going to re-sign. So that alone, I'll say Gaudreau, but I add Fiala into that mix. He's as good as gone. He's definitely being traded, and I think he'd be a good fit for the Islanders. So you got to get one of those 3.
Going to go back to Tommy on this one because he was talking about if you bench Braun. I know a lot of people are mentioning about the first goal last night. But if you bench Braun, who are you putting in? You can't put in Zach Jones in this situation. You can't put 2 rookies together and hope for the best, especially in an Eastern Conference final with a chance of going to the Stanley Cup. Braun's been in this situation for years with San Jose. I'll put my money on Justin Braun.
Yeah, I agree.
Which actually I think his name is Justin, so that really helped me out right there. So I didn't screw that one up. But, But and I want Nemeth nowhere near the ice, and I want Hayek just somewhere else next year. The only Hayek I want to see is Selma Hayek. So no, absolutely not. I also saw this. I just had to correct it too. Sorokin's numbers were under Igor's. It was second best.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what that. I wasn't sure what you meant by that. Yeah, I don't know if you meant maybe. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. You know, he was second for sure. Mark, I'll let you answer this first from the Rangers' perspective, and then I'll take it for the Islanders.
I don't think there's only been really 2 offer sheets handed out the last few years. Obviously, and they both had to do with Carolina. Let me make sure I get his name right. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Yeah, KK. He was one of them, and it was the response to the Sebastian Aho deal, which I think that contract doesn't look that great right now, especially after they re-signed him. I think it's an 8-year deal or 5. I got to look it up again. I remember seeing that deal and going, "Wow, that's way too much." But no, I don't think I like Natchez, and the Rangers should have drafted him instead of Elias Anderson. But I don't think that's going to happen. RFAs are usually not the guys that they're going to offer sheet. So
yeah, as far as the Islanders, I don't think it's Lou's style to use the offer sheet. I like Natchez; he's a good player, but I don't think he's on the radar for the Islanders or Lou. I don't see it happening. But he is definitely a good player, and I think either New York team could use him. I just don't see it happening.
Anthony, by the way,
as for this, because I mentioned Fiala, Kevin Kurz, the Islanders beat writer from The Athletic, he had a piece about the Islanders acquiring Fiala a couple days ago. He suggested Wahlstrom and a first for Fiala, but then he had input from executives from around the league, and the one Eastern Conference executive that he said that Wahlstrom and a first for Fiala is actually too much. So then Kurz suggested the first and Ratu for Fiala, and he said that might be more feasible from the Islanders' standpoint, because Wahlstrom and the first is probably a little too much. But somewhere around that ballpark for Kevin Fiala, I think the key is, because they also suggested first at Beauvillier, but apparently the Wild don't really want to take on any salary at all, and Beauvillier makes $4.1 million. So that's why I think it would be Ratu or Wahlstrom if the Islanders would get Fiala.
By the way, Anthony, you know what happens if you offer sheet one of Lou's players? Get a horse's head in your bed.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely be signing your own death warrants, if you will.
Yeah. I don't know, Mark, if you saw this, the Pastrnak rumors that came up yesterday. Did you see any of it?
I did not see them. What happened?
So I think I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit. I think it's a little bit of irresponsible reporting. I'm going to pull a Marc here because I don't know his name is weird. It's like Fluto Shuzawanza. He's like the Bruins beat writer from The Athletic. Okay. He wrote up a piece saying how Grzelcyk and McAvoy are going to be out for the first couple of months. Marchand had surgery. Bergeron might not come back. So he was saying how the Bruins may really struggle in the beginning of the year, and suggested maybe they do a rebuild, and then suggested will Pastrnak re-sign. And he said that maybe if the Bruins wanted to rebuild, Pastrnak is their greatest trade chip. So then some other wannabe rumor Twitter account retweeted it and said, "Oh, Bruins shopping David Pastrnak," and then it sent everybody into a tizzy. So he didn't say that. He was just speculating. So then it brought on everything that's come out since. So I don't think that Pasternak's being traded. I texted our good source, and he said he doesn't see the Bruins moving Pasternak at all. So I think we could, really stop talking about him. I mean, listen, if he was, I think every single team in the league would line up, because for my money, he's, definitely in the top 5 in the purest goal scorers in the game right now, but he's not being moved.
I got to say, no, he's not getting shopped. You would have to have a situation where when stuff like this happens and a player is possibly going to get moved, they talk about it. Look, first things first, doesn't make sense to move him. You got an elite goal scorer and a playmaker, and I wouldn't say he's even available. That would be my influence. But no. I mean, I understand when reporters have to just ask something out loud. That they're just asking. Like everybody all the time in 2018. Oh, where's Henrik Lundqvist going to go? Where's Henrik Lundqvist going to go? First things first. The player has to want out. And if he wants out and he goes to a different, what's the situation that he's going to go to? It's easier to move forward than it is a goaltender, because, again, going back to Henrik Lundqvist with this, that guy didn't want to move. And then once they did the rebuild, Henrik Lundqvist wanted to be part of the solution. Think of David Wright in 2015, where the Mets were going through a rebuild. Then they're finally good, and you're going to look at the guy and go, all right, get the hell out of here. No.
Yeah.
I just wasted years of my career so that way I could be on this team and win with this team. That's what a player will do. Now, if Pasta wants out, that's up to him. That's a different thing. But the Bruins are a first-class organization. You're not talking about a small market team that it's not the Arizona Coyotes. So, and I'm not trying to offend the Arizona Coyotes. I hope Arizona fixes everything.
Yeah. So while we shouldn't really talk about Pasternak as realistic, I do have a piece of info that I got confirmed from the source. He said that if because this is still undecided, the Blackhawks are only going to move Patrick Kane if he decides he doesn't want to play out the last year of his contract in Chicago and wants to move on. But if he does, I can confirm the Islanders are going to be interested in Patrick Kane. That's a phone call Lou's definitely going to make. So just keep an eye out on that. Where if Kane decides he wants out, the Islanders are on his radar. He's on the Islanders' radar, I should say.
Well, it's a good thing for them. Braun is borderline 7D. Now I'm thinking Brendan Smith would have been perfect. Look, Braun's been good insurance for what Patrick Nemeth was last over this season. I'd still rather have Braun over Nemeth. And sit Braun, give me Tenorti for a game. Sorry, I don't trust. This is too big a stakes to start worrying about Jared Tenorti in there. Marc and Anthony, last question. I promise. It seems like we don't have any pests in this lineup. Would you like to see either Hunt or Julien Gauthier over Rooney, since they both drive the net? I actually think you're wrong on this one, John. I think they do have pests. Barclay Goodrow is a pest. Tyler Mott's a pest. Do they need guys to drive the net? Yeah, they just tell the guys drive the net.
Yeah,
Anthony.
Yeah, I like Rooney just because he plays more of a playoff style than Julien Gauthier, and he's gritty. He could take draws and stuff. So for now, I know Gauthier may bring a little more offense, and I mean Hunt, I'm not really a huge fan of. I think Rooney's honestly the best option on the 3.
And I started drinking the Kool-Aid earlier in the year that they might have found a diamond in the rough in Hunt, but instead, no, I don't think so. And I'll say this about Julien Gauthier. I think he's done with the New York Rangers. That's my personal inference. It's if he's there next year, whatever. I just think the Rangers are going to move on from him in the offseason. All right.
People talking about Kane, since I brought up that Ranger fan. So obviously, I don't know for as far as the Rangers go. I just know for sure that that the Islanders are going to be in on them. But in regards to the Rangers, if the Blackhawks didn't retain any salary, there's a 0% chance the Rangers could fit him because he makes $10.5 million. It's just not feasible. If the Blackhawks retain 50% of his salary, then yeah, that could become a realistic option for the Rangers. I just don't know if the Blackhawks are going to go as far as be willing to retain 50%. Now, also keep this in mind: Kane at no salary retention, the return what you'll have to give up will be less because you're taking on all of it. If the Blackhawks retain 50%, not only is he Patrick Kane, you're gonna still have to give up assets because of who he is. You're gonna have to give up even more because the Blackhawks are doing you a favor by retaining 50%. So it might not work out either way for the Rangers because if they retain 50%, I hope you're willing to give up some pretty good pieces because he ain't gonna come cheap.
I'm going to go back to this, going to pile on top of this one. And that's, I've been saying this all along. If you go, let's say, get Patrick Kane or you re-sign Ryan Strome, you might as well trade Lafreniere and Kakko. Because what are you doing with them? They're just to play on the third line the rest of their career, never on the power play one. You got to give some responsibility to these guys, especially when they're looking like they're going to be franchise players. I've changed my mind on Philip Hedl in the last 30 days.
Yeah.
Like Philip Hedl now, I'm looking at him and going, maybe he can be a number one center eventually. See, he's another guy. So it's just, where's the ice time go? Like offensive players need to be in offensive positions.
And also think of the salary cap implications. Even if, let's say, the Blackhawks did retain 50%, and the Rangers got him, then he's going to be unrestricted free agent. He had 92 points this year, so even at the age of 33, he's still an elite player. And you got to imagine that he's going to put up similar numbers this year. So yeah, you have him at 5.5 for this year, but when he's a free agent, you just gave up all that to get him. You're going to want to re-sign him. And can you afford to pay him he may not make $10.5 million again on his next contract at 34, but he's at least getting, what do you think, Marc? 8? I mean, but who knows? If he puts up another 90+ point season, maybe he does get 10 million again. I mean, on a shorter term, obviously. Who knows? And the point is, with the Rangers, you already have Fox at over 9. You have Mika at whatever it is, 8.5. You have other guys coming up. It's not feasible for the Rangers to get Patrick Kane. It's really not.
No, I don't think it's reasonable in the end for the Rangers to even expand outwards because especially there's a cap crunch coming, and they're going to have to try to get rid of Jacob Trouba in about 2 years, and there's a lot of heavy lifting Drury's going to have to figure out with this salary cap. And also, don't forget, they're going to have to pay Keandre Miller soon enough. So why are we? It's a Larry Brooks thing to even start saying go get Patrick Kane. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think
Tom,
you said
right about this. Sorry, Anthony. What?
No, it's more of a better fit for the Islanders right now to get Patrick Kane. And they have more cap space, but even them, they would need the Blackhawks to retain a little bit of salary on Kane. But man, watching Barzal and Kane together would be watching like poetry in motion. That would be and oddly enough, Barzal idolizes Kane. He's one of his favorite players. So it would be pretty funny if that worked out. But yeah, that would be something else. It really would. But we'll see. Who knows? Like I said, Kane may want to finish his career in Chicago. He may be one of those guys that wants to play to be known for. I played for one team my whole career. Maybe he wants to stay there. So we'll see.
Agree with that one, Rich. 100% agree on that one. Yeah, and like they still have Shesterkin in a few years that they're going to have to do. Yeah, let the Islanders have Kane. I'll give him Lee. I like Anders Lee. I think he's a good
No, I
player.
do. He's a good captain, and he's a good leader. Chicago again. Chicago would want. I guess just to say what I think it would probably definitely be the first round pick this year, so 13th overall. Then for salary purposes, going back the other way, so you're probably talking Anthony Beauvillier. So first Beauvillier, and then either Ratu or Wallstrom. Let's just say Wallstrom. So first Beauvillier, Wallstrom, and then finally maybe just one other smaller piece. That's a lot.
And you would have to make sure he signs an extension as soon as he gets. You would have that deal.
Yeah. I'm of a belief of you got to do what you want to win now. I mean, for me, I'm already resigned to the notion that Beauvillier is gone regardless. I think he's going to be in a trade for Chychrun or defenseman along those lines. So I think he's gone anyway. So for him, I don't really mind. The first round pick, I mean, it's not really the deepest draft. So 13th overall. I mean, how long? I mean, that player is probably at least 2 to 4 years away from having an impact. So now you're really just talking about Wallstrom. So if you break it down like that, I mean, it seems better. But like on the whole, when you see a package big like that, you're like, oh well, that's so much to give. So I'm on the fence about it. But ultimately, I say do what you can to bring Patty Kane to New York. I mean,
and again, whenever I go on assembling a team, I always go on talking about roles for players. And I have to ask you this question, Anthony. With the role Noah Dobson's playing, that he's now the power play one quarterback, and he's really looking the part. Do you really need to go get Jacob Chychrun? Even though I've said John Klingberg can end up as an Islander.
Well, yeah, because they need so you have Pollock as the first pair. They need another top four defenseman to play with Dobson. They didn't replace Nick Wright with somebody. So you absolutely need somebody. So if they get Jacob Chychrun,
I'm going to go to Dee's question right here. Will the Islanders look to go back to the past with Nino Niederreiter or try to pick up Vinny Trocheck?
So Niederreiter, I do think that could be a good option for him. If they miss on some of the higher end forwards, maybe you pick up, two guys like Burakovsky and Niederreiter. So yeah, I mean, I think they should be in the mix. Trocheck, I mean, I don't know. He's definitely a good player. I know he could do center or wing, but the Islanders are deep at center. I mean, they, Barzal, Nelson, Pajot, Cizikas. I don't think Trocheck is a guy that they particularly really need right now. They need a high end scoring winger. And funny you just highlighted that because all these guys are just what I described. So I think that's more on the mold of what they need than Trocheck.
Yeah. I mean, I have my affinity for Vinny Trocheck. I make no secret of that because I think the guy's a hell of a player. The Canes are going to get decimated in their free agency this year.
Yeah.
Because I could see a team going beyond what you think is reasonable for Tony DeAngelo, and I could see a couple teams giving big contracts out to Trocheck and it's a Niederreiter. So it could be happening.
Yeah, I think both are going to get 5+. Probably.
And the Canes got a lot of guys that are paying like that.
Yep.
All right. Not worried about Fiala. Great production in a contract year. Do you think his production from last year is?
Well,
I can't pronounce replicable.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I think he didn't play with Kirill Kaprizov. He played with Freddie Gaudreau and Marc, help me out here. Freddie Gaudreau and why am I drawing a blank on the other winger he played with?
Yeah, I'm blanking on him too.
So it's not like he was a product of playing with Kaprizov. I know it was a career year, but 85 points or yeah, you know what? I think he could maintain that level of play if he played with someone like Barzell. I mean, I don't know if he'd replicate it again if he played with a guy like Gaudreau again, but I think if he played with Matt Barzell, he could replicate it. So, but it's a fair question and it's a fair thought.
And Richie coming in with this, that Trocheck is a terrific player. He had a great impact on the Rangers.
Yeah,
he did. And you know what? The Rangers shut him down in that last series. He had, I think, one goal in that series. He had the shorthanded goal.
Yeah.
And I think it was game 5. But that was a big goal. But by the way,
Hartman.
Yeah.
Ryan
Hartman, there we go. Because Ryan Hartman was on the top line for a little bit.
No, wait, no. Didn't Hartman play with Kaprizov and
Zuccarello? Yeah, because he had a career year.
Hartman then. Maybe it was back to the drawing board then, I guess.
Talk about this for a take. That's an interesting one. I like that one, Dwayne. That Trocheck will go to his hometown in Pittsburgh. Pens will move away from Malkin. I like how, by the way, if you ever say Vincent Trocheck, there's a lot of people that probably don't even realize he's American.
I don't think the Penguins are going to move away from Malkin. I would be surprised if they don't get a deal done with Yevgeny Malkin to stay in Pittsburgh. I just would.
I wonder how much that deal is going to be, because he's not the same player he was, but he's still a pretty damn good one.
Hot take here. Speaking of Malkin, I'm telling you right now.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So I don't know if you heard the rumblings. Like Nicholas Backstrom has like his hip is banged up pretty bad to the point where like people are saying they wonder if like he'll be able to like keep playing. But at the very least, he's going to be out he's going to miss the majority of I think this coming year. So if he leaves Pittsburgh, I wonder if the Capitals sign Yevgeny Malkin and he plays the rest of his career with Ovechkin in Washington, and he could fill in for that center that Backstrom provided for Ovechkin for all those years.
That is not going to go over well in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you.
No, it would not.
But if I'm the Capitals, I would consider jumping on that.
Yeah,
I would definitely consider that.
Yeah, it would have to.
They got Henrik when that was a chance. I'm gonna go with what Tom's saying right here. That the Rangers are going to run into the same issues that Tampa Bay is currently working with. Give it 2 to 3 years. Yeah. Well, again, that's why you don't want to constantly be adding on bigger pieces. You want the pieces you have in place to keep going. Malkin did say he'll never play for the Caps, but
yeah, I never heard him. But yeah, I mean, I guess I believe it, but who knows though? If Pittsburgh shows him off the side, maybe he's a little upset about that, and he takes the best deal he can get, and so we'll see. It's easy to say that when things are going well and you're in the Penguins and you're winning cups, but at the end of the day, if the Penguins say no to him, honestly, I think he throws that loyalty out the window. That's just my personal opinion.
Now, Alex, I'm going to bring this one up that you mentioned. You say, Anthony, why does everyone have Wahlstrom as a trade chip when you want to build around the kid as much talent? So that's why the Rangers are in a better position in the long run than the Islanders. First, I'll let you answer the question, and then I got my answer for it too.
So, first off, I'm not an advocate of trading Oliver Wahlstrom. I think he showed this year that he's going to be a real player in this league. His shot and release is ridiculous, and I would love to see how he plays under a coach not named Barry Trotz, because for whatever reason, it just seems like Trotz really kind of, I don't want to say howled out for him, but he was really hard on him. So I think for a more offensive coach, I think you could really see Wahlstrom's talent take off. Remember, this was just his first full season in the league. So I think he's going to be a really good player. But to the point of why does people throw Wahlstrom's name in as trade chip, it's because, all right, so when you look at it, for the Islanders to get like that top player we're talking about, Fiala, I mean, Forsberg and Gaudreau doesn't count, they're free agents, but a player like Fiala, a player like Patrick Kane, it's because you got to give to get. And their farm system isn't the best. So when you look at the roster, who has the value to help bring back that type of player? Obviously, guys like Pelech and Sorokin, Barzell, they're the foundation, not going anywhere. So that leaves guys like Beauvillier, Wahlstrom. That's why their names are thrown in trade deals. It's not because they're not good or no one wants them on the Islanders. It's because they have the most value to other teams. And Mark, I'm sure you, as a Ranger fan, you'd love to have Wahlstrom on your team. Point is, if Wahlstrom's available, I think almost every team in the National Hockey League would like to have him because of his age and his upside.
And I agree with that 100%. You start looking at all the players just like stocks. You start saying player X has got this value, player B has got this value. You look, if I'm any GM, the first name out of my mouth if I'm talking about the Islanders is Oliver Wahlstrom. And it's because he's still locked into the rookie deal. He's got a pretty good upside and he's a winger. It'd be the same thing as if a GM, let's say the Rangers wanted to acquire Patrick Kane, and going back to this conversation, my first name out of my mouth is Keandre Miller, because I'm like, hey, what about Keandre Miller? Oh, well, really not thinking about dealing for him. Or, well, then this conversation's over. And that's the way trades get done. You got guys that you want, and you just got to – nobody's going to look over and right now and say – using Adam Fox as an example. Even though he's got the Norris, even though he's a great defenseman and everything, he's got an $8.5 million price tag next season. So that's one thing that GMs would always be thinking about. Affordability has a lot to do with any time you ever ask for a player, because even when you're acquiring the player, you got to think about how their salary is going to fit in, and then how the player is going to fit in. So that's why you're always going to get Oliver Wahlstrom's name mentioned. Ace is high. Is this
Filk.
Actually Filk?
Yeah.
All right.
And Richard, I'm not an advocate for it. I'm just saying what the Blackhawks would want. And also remember this: Lou is 80 years old. Or maybe even older. I think he's 80. Point is, he's not going to do this forever. So he wants to win now. And I know he cares about the Islanders and hopes they're good for a really long time. The point is, again, he's 80. He wants to win now. He's probably not going to be around. And when I say not around in 5 years, I mean not. I say not on the Islanders. Not I'm saying he's not going to be living. So the point is, he's not going to be around in the long term. So truthfully, I don't really think he cares if you were to make that move, because he wants to win another cup before he hangs him up. That's just a fact. So,
and Phil has clarified it. It was Boldy with Goudreau. Steven has corrected this. No move clause can always be waived, but it's not like it's just not really all that often that they waive the no move clause. Cop has been invisible. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. I think Cop does need to step up. But I do think the Rangers still plan on re-signing him if his salary demands are reasonable, which with the contracts of recent of Rust and Roslovic, I think they will be. But I think the Rangers want to keep him.
I do think they want to keep him. I think they're going to try to move Ow, cramp. What the hell just happened? I guess I've been sitting too long. I don't know. Wow, getting old sucks.
Jeez.
Yeah, my leg just cramped up on my hamstring. It's not even like my calf, which is usually the problem. But yeah, affordability is one. And as Phil brought up, affordability is one thing. Question is, can the Islanders have the asset, the ability to move that asset? I don't think they have that ability right now. I don't think you would move that Wahlstrom asset at the moment.
I don't particularly want to, but again, if they want to get a top player like that, they may have to. And I know Lou wants to win now, so we'll see.
Grandpa Marc, Grandpa Justin. Whereas Kakko been? I mean, honestly, I would really think about trading Kakko for a piece that fits his team better. I've been
beating that drum to the point of, maybe you let Kopp, obviously you let Strome go, but if Mark Scheifele becomes available, you trade Kakko in that deal. I mean,
if he becomes available, yes. Scheifele would be the Banijad insurance just in case something happens. But again, Filipino's got me rethinking maybe he could be a second line center for this team, and he might be the ideal second line center.
Who?
As Phil just said, by the way, Filipino. What's better, Marc messing up names or cramping on a live stream? I think I'm going to go with the cramping, Phil, because at least nothing's funnier than watching other people's pain. So that's just it. Oh yeah, Armin, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I've been on here 5 minutes and I've seen Capo and Trouba getting traded. Slow down, we're tied in the Eastern Conference Final.
But don't be silly. I mean, Trouba getting traded would be a blessing for you guys. He makes $8 million a year, and that would open up your cap to many other possibilities that aren't possible right now. And he's thrown some big hits, but he's also took some very poor penalties and has looked really bad at times during these playoffs. So trading Trouba, it's not going to happen because of his no movement, but that would be a blessing for you guys.
Yeah, and it's the reason why we've been saying this all along is because his no move clause gets modified in 2024. Him and Chris Kreider's, and it's just Trouba's $8 million price tag is probably what's going to get him off this team eventually. He's still on it right now, so I'm not saying anything bad against Jacob Trouba. Well, Tom, you're right. I don't think anybody's going to take that contract, but you know what? You eat some money on that because Jacob Trouba is not going to cost the Rangers K-Andre Miller. I will say that right now. So, and Steven's right about that one. But Hedel drives a kid line for now. We have to find out a way to put Recklable in any question. We ask Marc, he will eventually be confident enough to say it. I'm still not sure if Recklable is a word, but I know it's, I would say, the ability to replicate, but I think that's why I kind of stopped and really had trouble with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only time I'll say is I love Kakko. Trouba will always be a cap casualty after the emergence of Fox. And you know what? I'm going to mention Nashville was able to trade PK Subban with a $9 million cap hit when the cap was lower, and Subban is not Trouba. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Did you see this one, Anthony?
What?
Boychuk retired.
Well, yeah, he retired after the bubble.
Yeah.
The injury.
All right.
And then his contract was traded to Buffalo this past season.
And this is why the Rangers need to be a little bit more fiscally responsible. They're paying 3 players that aren't on their team right now, and they're all defensemen. And as it's been pointed out, it's the same thing. They bought out Girardi, then they bought out Kevin Shattenkirk, and then it was just and then it was Tony DeAngelo on top of that. Those are all the cap penalties. All right, we're actually at the 90-minute mark right now. Zach Boychuk? I don't know.
Yeah, he follows everybody on Twitter.
Is that really like a thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I am so out of touch with the Twitterverse that I can't even begin to tell you guys. I just don't know.
Take a look to see if he follows you.
I hope he does. Is that like a shtick? Like,
what?
Can you actually have a shtick like that? It's like, what do? I follow everyone on Twitter. I mean, eventually you're going to get to an account you don't want to follow. So I mean, like, I'm trying to make a joke out of it, but every joke I have is offensive to someone, and just be like, I don't want to follow that page. So that's a great question. Let's see if he does follow us. I got to catch up with so many. I have, let's see, following. I am not going to be able to look that up. This is great. This is riveting video right now. Absolutely riveting video.
Marc, if the Isles traded Ladd and Boychuk for bait. Yeah, I mean, that's especially Ladd. I mean, everyone was saying, oh, you can't get rid of Andrew Ladd. You know, he's, basically he's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And, Lou, poof, made him vanish to Arizona without giving up anything that really hurt. However, I mean, there's different. Ladd, I mean, Trouba makes $8 million. Ladd made what? $5.5. So I mean $3 million is $3 million.
And also, Trouba's still productive. Andrew Ladd was a ghost for a year.
Yeah.
The Islanders are still paying Rick DiPietro, but it doesn't count against the cap.
Yeah, Ricky D.
Justin Boychuk. I agree with Philk on this one. You got to sit Reeves.
Yeah, I don't really. I know he's been a great locker room presence for you guys, and he's honestly been a pretty good, pickup for you guys. But right now, yeah, he hasn't been very effective.
If you could play if you can play Blay, play him. If he can play.
Yeah.
And that about covers that. All right, we're about 90 minutes in right now, and I only have about 10 more minutes of the room.
I just saw an article of because my friend doesn't subscribe to The Athletic, so he sent me a screen grab and asked me if there was a mention of the Islanders in it. It was an article by Haley Savin, athletic writer for the Flames. She said five landing spots for Johnny Gaudreau. Could you guys? Well, do you want to take a guess who they are before I say who are on there?
Number 1, Philadelphia Flyers.
Yes, the Flyers were on there. Yep.
Okay. Number 2, the New Jersey Devils.
Yep. Well, they weren't two. I don't know if it was any particular order, but yes, the Devils were on there.
Number 3, I'll say the Islanders.
Yep. Isles, 2 more.
Okay. So now there's 2 more. Boston Bruins?
No,
because all right, they don't have the cap space. There's no way the Buffalo Sabres can be on there.
No.
Okay.
One Western team and one other team in the Metro.
I'm gonna go LA.
No.
Really? All right.
No.
So the Hurricanes has got to be
No.
How are they fitting them in the Penguins?
What?
It's the Penguins. Then
yes,
that's the only
Penguins.
team left in the Metro.
Yes, Penguins.
And it wasn't LA, they said?
No.
Oh, so one Western team.
So Flyers, Devils, Islanders, Penguins, and one Western team.
The Ducks?
No.
Right.
They're in the Central Division.
Oh, in the Central Division. St. Louis?
No.
Chicago?
No.
Oh, wow. All right, you're killing me on this. Who's the last team?
Nashville.
Okay, Nashville. Well, Nashville makes sense then. Yeah. They swap out Johnny Gaudreau and Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, she basically said that she ruled out the teams that don't have the cap space: Toronto, Vegas, Minnesota, Rangers, and then some teams some teams just aren't ready for him. Buffalo, Seattle, Arizona, and then geographical location said that likely no Canadian teams because he doesn't want to go there, and likely doesn't want to play in Southern California. And then just say those are the five best. So
yeah, Wicked. I would say San Jose is definitely out for a while on all these things. San Jose
but now
needs. They need the territory.
The caveat to Pittsburgh being on that list is if Pittsburgh re-signs Evgeny Malkin, then you could scratch the Penguins off because they're not going to be able to fit Malkin and Gaudreau.
So, Gaudreau. I mean, almost from a player standpoint, I kind of almost wish he could go back to Calgary, but it's just not going to happen. I just don't see it.
And then if you want to break down that list even more, so if the Penguins re-sign Malkin, Penguins are out. Then you look at New Jersey. If you could sign with the Flyers, the Predators, Islanders, why would you pick the Devils over any of those teams? I know he's from Jersey, but he's from South Jersey. South Jersey is basically Philly. So aside from that's the state he was born in and lived in, he doesn't sound like he has any real tie to the Devils. I mean, he was a Flyers fan. So I just would be surprised if he picked the Devils over the Flyers, the Islanders, Predators, etc. So now you're left with
he's a UFA, by the way.
So now you're left with the Flyers, Predators, and Islanders. So, it's gonna be interesting. But I just can't see him picking Jersey over any of those teams. I would be.
I gotta agree with you on that. And I think people look at New Jersey and look at all their assets. They got the number 2 pick this year again. It's just when are they going to put it together? And I think that's what people will keep thinking. But I'm not a fan of Dougie Hamilton.
But I can. So you're right. Heishier, Jack Hughes. They signed Dougie Hamilton. They have Alexander Holz, their first-round pick from a couple of years ago, had a good year in the minors, and they have the second overall pick. So they got good assets. But Rick's right. I mean, Newark, New Jersey. He didn't live there. He lived in South Jersey. I just don't see why he would go to the Devils. Alexander, this question, as I stated, he's from South Jersey. He grew up in Salem, New Jersey, which is like 45 minutes from Philadelphia, and he grew up a Flyers fan. So that's why he would go to the Flyers.
And with signing Johnny Gaudreau, turn around what probably is going to be a rebuild for them quickly.
Well, see, again, their goaltending, Carter Hart was better than he was last year, but that's not saying much. He still looks like he was a bust. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's not a bust. He's not as good as people made him out to be.
He's not panning out.
Yeah. Then you have an JVR who's overpaid $7 million. He's on the downward trend of his career. Sean Couturier had a lot of injuries he dealt with. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he would definitely improve the Flyers. I don't know if he would make them a cup contender or even a playoff team, really. But, I don't know. And THG, there was no it didn't seem like it was a in order, like it was a most likely to least likely. So I can't tell you for sure if a number. I will say though the Flyers were first listed, and then the Penguins, then the Devils, then the Islanders, and then Nashville was last at 5th. But again, she never said that it was in most likely to least likely. It was just 5 teams that were listed.
All right. I have about 5 more minutes I can go, and it's an actual 5 more minutes. By the way, again, D, thank you for reminding everybody. You got to hit the like button for us if you haven't. And also, I got this thing again. I'm so bad at shameless self-promotion. I have to get better at that.
What are your thoughts on that one?
With the Flyers would still get exposed because they can't defend, and Goudreau won't help that. Yeah. My thoughts on that is the Flyers really need. It's amazing sometimes when you look at teams and their talent pool. A lot of people thought the Flyers were built for the long term with their defense, and it just has not panned out. So yeah, they cannot defend, and doubling down on Rasmus Ristolainen. Oh no, that's just not the right move.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think he still is good. He still will consider the Flyers just because he was a fan of them and he lived close to the area. So he's going to give him a chance.
And thank you, by the way. Like, share, and subscribe. And it's great to have Phil going with us.
Now, Mark, do you think a team? Do you think one of these teams listed, or really any team, do you think they should get ahead of things and try to trade for his rights ahead of time?
I would say the Flyers don't need to because they're the front runner. I would say the Islanders should. And you do that, and I agree again with our illustrious co-host. I think he ends up a Flyer, but I mean, I think the Islanders can get on there, make a pitch, and that's just, I think that would be a good solution for them because they're sort of off the radar team, sort of, because Philadelphia is the number one. Everyone else is number two. Everybody's been rumoring him to Philadelphia for years, and it's just one of those where there's smoke, there's fire. That's just what I think with that.
I also wonder, though, he just got a taste of, playing. I mean, he was on a team that had a really good regular season, and they lost to a team in the playoffs that they probably should have beat. I wonder, and he's getting old. He's 28. I mean, even though he's from Philly, I wonder if the will to win wins out more than location.
This is a great question too that Rick just threw up there. And by the way, Alex, thanks for the compliment. And we really try. I guess we'll close the show with this one, Ant. As soon as you come back on. Oh, there you are. I guess we'll close it with this one. Where do you think Claude Giroux ends up? I mean, back in Philly, maybe?
From Pierre LeBrun that Giroux would like to return to Florida, but I don't know if Florida is going to be able to make. I don't know if Florida, these bots, man, Mark. Yeah. I know you need some love in your life, but you don't need to advertise it with these bots.
I don't know, not like that.
I know Florida wants to re-sign him, and I think he wants to re-sign, but the cap number is going to be the issue. So I don't know if he will return to Florida. I also heard throughout the year some talk that maybe he might be interested in going home and playing for Ottawa, being that he's from the area. But I mean, Ottawa's a bad team, and I can't see him actually going through with it. But I guess it's possible. But I'm just gonna make a prediction. I know there was rumors that Colorado was very interested in him, and he chose Florida. Maybe he's going to kick himself, maybe not. But I think Nazem Kadri is going to leave because I don't think they're going to be able to afford him after the year he had. And I think they're going to replace him with Claude Giroux, and Claude Giroux ends up on the Colorado Avalanche. That's my prediction.
You have a feeling that Nazem Kadri's contract is going to be a contract whatever team signs him is going to regret? Like they're going to pay him way too much almost to be a number one center. And he's just not that.
Yep. Whoa. Florida might trade Barkov or Huberdeau. I've been hearing that. Where have you?
I'd have to say if they did that, that's a big mistake.
They just re-signed Barkov. his new contract extension kicks in this coming year. There's no way.
Both of those guys, if anybody, I know that they got serious cap problems, but you're talking about their franchise. Talking about a guy who might win the MVP.
Let me tell you something. If Florida traded Jonathan Huberdeau, I know we use this line a lot, but literally, I think every team in the league would call Florida instantaneously and ask about Jonathan Huberdeau. That's how good he is. Some general managers may actually go to his house and knock on his door, and he has a line of people standing outside with, offers flying in through his window. There's no way Florida's trading Huberdeau. They would be absolutely. I mean, I know he can be an unrestricted free agent next year, but I don't see that happening at all. I really don't.
Yeah. All right, everybody's. Unfortunately, I gotta sign out. It's been a great time here in Tampa. I can't say that enough. And
you going to the whorehouse?
No, I've already been there like 2 or 3 times already. So they're just
1 minute trips, right?
Yeah. Well, I was told the third lay is free, so maybe I don't know. But
well, I'm gonna end it with this. This is a good time for you to call Big Lou. You're in Tampa Bay. You're not home. You're in a foreign place, so he can't really track you down and kind of send his guys after you. Might as well just call him. What do you have to lose?
Well, hold on. Let me see if I got that number still, or see if my co-producer is gonna. Fortunately, wait. Do I have it? No, I do. I don't have. Oh wait, do I have Marty Stanley on here? Oh God, I still have it.
There you go. Yep, you still have it.
I am definitely not going to be able to do that. Fortunately, because we're running out of time. I'm going to have to go.
Oh man.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for meeting up with us today, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the series is going to unfold. You know what? The last time Anthony came on, and it was a very pessimistic game the day before. The Rangers came back and played their best game on there. Yep. So again, I definitely can't call it Big Lou. He still wouldn't tell me his name. All right.
You know what you should call him?
Thank you.
You should call him on July 13th when free agency starts, when we're on the air. And, that would be funny. Imagine him expecting a call from an agent, and Marc Williams calls him. He's like, who the hell is this calling me? That would be epic. That would be epic.
Yeah, I'd still be a muttering idiot trying to talk to him. Guys, again, thank you very much for joining us today. And we're going to have a full episode coming up soon. I'm probably going to be doing a post-game show on Friday, unless Phil does one on tomorrow night. So, again, thank you always. And let's go Rangers.